Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and through you to the members. And I also hope that this conference committee report is not adopted. And I want to start with the obvious, and that is the process is broken. And each of you should be extremely concerned that you are about to vote on a budget that I would suggest you haven't read and you don't understand and you can't explain to your constituents. Perhaps you received a briefing, as I did, but come on, we're getting this done today because we need to give the governor 10 days and we don't even give ourselves 1 day to look at this? This is a broken process, not only because we don't have time to look at it, not only don't we have time to consider the impacts of it, but there is elements of this conference committee report that violate the conference process. There are things in this report that were not subject to this House or the Senate and were put in during the conference committee process. That should by itself upset you and give you cause to vote against this conference committee report. You are ceding all of your authority as a representative by going along with this broken process of letting just a couple of people tell you, here it is, vote for it. It is broken, ladies and gentlemen, and we have to take a stand at some point and reassert our ability and our power as individual legislators to represent our districts and mean something here. At least I think we should. The gentleman from Grafton quite accurately said a number of things that were never subject to debate, never subject to committee hearings, never subject to even a vote in the House or the Senate. And let's talk about the taxes for a few minutes. I count, depending how you count, 9 additional revenue sources. Sales tax, meals tax, and the hotel tax. I'll take a tangent on the meals and hotel tax and suggest the very thing that we often complain about with the federal government, of putting strings or forcing states to do things, or we won't get the revenue. We are doing the same thing that we complain about to the cities and towns. We're putting a number in this budget and saying, here is your money if you do something, if you enact these local taxes. Just like the federal government does to us. And what do we do when they do it to us? We say it's wrong, we complain, we whine, we moan. And we're about to do the same thing to our local cities and towns, giving them no meaningful choice of whether or not they want to increase the meals tax or the hotel tax. And to be clear on the meals tax, it is not from 5 to 6.25. When the cities and towns are forced to raise the meals tax, it'll be from 5 to 7%. Treating restaurants different than every other retailer in the Commonwealth. We are saying to the restaurant business and its customers, you will pay more than if you go into a retail establishment, and I don't think that's fair or equitable. Going on the taxes, you're also about to approve a telecommunications tax that you haven't voted on yet.
Chair apologizes to the gentleman at the microphone. For what purpose the gentleman rise?
Having difficulty listening.
The gentleman's having difficulty hearing the gentleman at the microphone. Again, the chair, with respect to the ask members of the conversation, pay due attention to the gentleman at the podium.
From New Bedford, if I was a conspiracy theorist, which I must admit I am, I would suggest that it is no coincidence that the microphone is not working well today. And the light of the people and the light on this budget is dim. Because we don't know what's in it. You can think you know what's in it. I went through it the best I could. I went to a thorough briefing this morning, and when the chairman was speaking, I was learning things that I hadn't even noticed yet in the budget. So I'm still learning from other speakers, and we're about to vote on this. So, back to the taxes for a moment. The telecommunications tax, you're approving it. You're approving a change to the film taxes, an increase or decrease in the incentive, the satellite TV, the alcohol tax. where we're taking another bold step of taxing things that are already taxed. We're taxing excise tax now. We're putting a sales tax on excise tax and creating another reason for people who live on border communities to make sure they know where the border is. Of all these taxes, they're all disturbing, but the one that I just don't get and is against every good public policy is the tax on nursing home private payers. I really get why someone of a different political ideology would want to tax alcohol. I understand that. I don't agree with it, but I get it. I don't get why you would want to tax and thus discourage people from saving for their future nursing home needs or buying private policies. You're saying to the people who are taking care of their own financial positions and planning for their future, we're going to tax you because you did the right thing. I don't get why anyone would want to do that, revenue or not. You're discouraging people from doing the right thing and planning for their future. You're encouraging people to get on public benefits. RMV fees, we're increasing RMV fees at the same time we're about to close, potentially close 12 registries. We've also broken a promise to the cities and towns and the lottery players of Massachusetts. I suspect that you will no longer see the television advertisements saying, support your local education, play the lottery. That was a legitimate advertising and a legitimate sales slogan when we started the lottery and when we uncapped the lottery. But now, as was stated from the gentleman from Grafton, that promise has been broken. That promise that if you play the lottery, you are helping your schools will be broken with the enactment of this budget. And don't think that we haven't cleaned out some accounts that you don't even know about. I challenge you, do you know what trust funds we have emptied as you're about to vote on this budget? Do you know what segregated funds we have taken to balance this budget? Because you're going to find out in a few weeks when this hits the fan and all of the people who relied on those trust funds to provide segmented services or protections to our environment and our economy, the money is gone. We've done this before, and we're about to do it again. Structurally, we made some cuts, which were necessary, but structurally, we're creating a huge problem for 2011. By balancing this budget on $1.5 billion of stimulus money, sweeping out these trust funds, taking $199 million from the rainy day account, what do you think will happen next year? I think we can do better. I think we can do better than raising 9 taxes, doing it without reading the budget, doing it without knowing the unintended consequences of these trust funds, doing it without breaking the promise to lottery players, and doing it with only leaving $600 million in our rainy day account. I think this House should take a stand and say, we appreciate the hard work of the conferees, we know it's difficult, we know this is unusual, but let's send it back. Let's send it back and do better. Let's send it back and have the opportunity to really see this and understand this. And let's do it back and only approve things that are appropriately in the conference committee itself. Let's not allow just a few people with the political influence and power to tell us to take it or leave it. I think it's wrong, and I hope this conference committee report is not adopted.